Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tim Time. I'm here with my friend Dee. I'm very excited about it because this is our very first Q&A where we had asked, isn't it exciting?
I know, right?
We asked our viewers to send in some design questions, so I'm here to answer them. So let's get started.
Okay, Tim, we have here a fan of yours from France.
Hi, France.
Her name is Sophia, and Sophia asked, what traits do you think are needed to be a good interior designer?
That's a very good question. I feel listening to the client is first and foremost to get a feel for what they think they might want to happen in their space.
But when you get a client and you do the initial call, what do you ask them? Do you ask them to bring something when you do or have the initial meeting? Do you say bring pictures, bring your favorite color, bring something like that, like other designers do also?
Sure. Well, what I like to do is I never like a client to come to my office. What I like to do is meet with them in their space. So while we're meeting, I can sit and kind of digest their space. And yes, very, very good. You need to know favorite colors, which actually not as important as colors somebody doesn't like, okay? Because people always know colors they don't like. And that's a better question that I ask. What colors don't you like? And then some other, just to get a concept of what they're looking at, depending on the scope of the project. I like to see some photos of rooms or something that they like, and then I may ask, what is it about the photo that they like? 9 times out of 10, no one can answer the question.
Oh, interesting.
And what that tells me is people like the color palette, the openness, something of that nature. That's what they're drawn to.
And do you have customers that also say oh, you could change anything but my grandmother's rocking chair? So what do you do?
I find that important as well because I think family heirlooms are very important for a space, and I think a good designer can be met with any challenge such as that, and I don't think that's a challenge. I think it's a positive because if it's meaningful to the client, it should be meaningful for the design of the space.
Okay, that's good. So we'll go to the next question.
Okay, can I have a sip of my wine?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
go ahead. I'll. So we have another.
I talk a lot.
So we have another fan. This was an internet question, actually.
Oh.
Tom from Chicago. His question is it okay to mix photography and paintings all on the same wall?
Absolutely. I think it adds to the whole vibe of the space. I find it to be a little more current, in fact. What I'd like to do, though, depending, it's hard to answer these questions blindly in a way, because I don't know what the artwork is. Is it portrait shots? Is it landscape shots? Of which are they black and white photos and all? But the general question or general rule of thumb, I believe, is that yes, you can intermingle. And what I would probably do, depending on the photography, is I'd have those all framed alike. And then the oil paintings change up in a complementary frame. And then have it more of like what I would call a museum wall. Okay. So, and not have all the same sizes next to each other, but disperse them around.
Okay.
But I think it'd be a great look.
Great look, yep. And then we have here another lady from Hong Kong, Lena. And her question is, what colors are trending for kitchens in 2017?
Oh my gosh, that is so current question. I was just in Orlando for the Kitchen and Bath. We have an annual convention. And you know what color I saw in cabinetry?
Do you go every year?
Every year.
It's a must for you.
It's a must for me. Yes. It is a must for me.
So that's Tim for you.
Because I like to stay ahead of everything. So you need to be out there. And it's kind of a big venue to see all the current and the up and coming. And a lot of times we see things that aren't even in production yet. Okay, to kind of see where trends are going. But what I saw a lot of was blue. We've been in a gray stage.
50 Shades of Gray?
50 Shades of Gray, exactly, which I still love grays, but it's interesting because they've moved into those beautiful blue-gray hues and stuff, just to kind of get a little bit of color instead of so clay-based. And those are the grays that I like better anyway, because I think they're maybe a little more timeless than like just a plain steel gray kind of a thing. I having a little blue in it, or like into the taupes, like those taupey grays. I think you can intermingle as time goes on other colors into the palette, and it looks timeless. And for me, that's key, is to good design should be timeless, and that's what I.
But then her question was for kitchens. What would you predict for bathrooms?
For bathrooms,
Is it the same? Do they usually hold the same colors, or they change?
They generally are about the same, on the same trend level. I think right now, as a country, I think we're in this very contemporary stage, and I think it's going to be long lasting. More like the oh God, what am I thinking of? Like the mid-century modern. You see a lot of this coming into mainstream. I was doing it 4 years ago, and it was very difficult to find things. So not that I'm like always ahead, but that one I was. So and now it's very mainstream, that mid-century modern type of thing. But in design, everything circles around. It circles around. But blues, grays. That kind of palette, more so than the heavily carved and stuff of that nature. But that'll be back too. So if you have it, don't be worried.
Don't change.
Yeah, it all comes around.
Because I have been hearing that brass or gold is coming back. Do you see that really soon, or still maybe years go back, or
Well, it's actually, gold is like cutting edge right now. It's not mainstream by any means, but it's not our old from our parents, the brass, the shiny brass. It's more like a champagne, almost like when brushed nickel, which is still very popular. It's like a brushed gold, and that kind of color. So it's not so yellow and stuff. I did see some. Personally, I don't know if it's going to take off, but that is very current. I would love to use it sparingly, though.
Okay.
Because I don't know if it's going to stay.
It's going to stay. Okay. But more on the traditional side, or more on the modern, or more on the transitional side?
You know what? Interesting enough, both.
Oh, both?
Both traditional and modern.
Okay.
I saw some very contemporary faucets in like a champagne gold at KBIS, and I was amazed, because we would think, a heavily like Baroque kind of a thing.
Would you use it? Would you use it for your contemporary designs, or you'll be more in the silver? You stay more in the silver.
I would stay more in the silver, because what I think the golds are going to be is trendy.
Okay.
And my definition of trendy is here today, gone tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So that
Makes
to
sense.
me is a trend. So will it last 3 years, 5 years? And then you're gonna be like, what am I doing with this gold faucet?
And then
right?
that's changed again.
And then you have to change, $700
Everything.
faucet,
Again.
So I don't know that I would get locked into something that specific. What I would probably do is to get that little pearlized gold and put it like on a trim of a pillow or something like this, that you can move out of the room and cost you $100 for a pillow. And just change that out to get that gold.
Yeah. So Tim, this is our last question.
Oh gosh.
And so this question is from Isabel from Spain.
Wow, hi, Spain. I didn't know I had people there.
I know, she's from Barcelona.
Wow, cool.
And so her question is, what's the difference between an interior designer and a decorator?
Good question. This is just my philosophy in the question. I think this is really good. And actually, for all of you, it's very important. Just in the word itself, a decorator decorates. They might bring in a sofa, window treatments, pick paint color. An interior designer, such as myself, when we walk into the space, we're assessing the space, maybe thinking maybe some construction's needed to make the space better. We look at the views out windows, or if there isn't a window, recommend putting in a window or a door or something of this nature. So we take in not only all the space, but also we listen to the client more, I believe, because I'm not there to sell somebody a sofa. I'm there to create the space that they're living in and a lifestyle.
And I would say like you are more parallel to an architect and to the other tradesmen. You could talk, I would think, that's my opinion, that you are very knowledgeable. If, let's say a plumber, contractor, or somebody says this, you know exactly we know how to deal with this situation.
Exactly. A interior designer is working with all the trades. And I think you need all of that, to encompass, and to me, that's the definition of a designer over a decorator, because a decorator, again, is just doing furnishings and what have you. And a designer is working with an architect, working with the tradesmen to build something or to install cabinetry or lighting. Electrical is important. Lighting is very important. So I think that's the biggest difference. An interior designer can take a room to another level than what a decorator can.
Yeah, I agree. So, Tim, that was the last question.
That was the last question.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, Dee, I want to thank you for joining me, reading these questions off to me. So thank you. Good.
Next time, if there are more questions.
Well, everybody, write in more questions. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook. And I want to say thank you all for watching Tim Time, and we'll see you on the next episode real soon. Bye for now.
Bye.